All right, today I'm going to be starting this reed. I tied the blank a couple days ago. This blank is actually pretty big. I don't know if you can really see, but in the profile, it's pretty wide, a little wider than I'd like. So it tells me this gouge might have been a little thicker than I prefer, but that's okay. We're gonna roll with it and see what happens. So my goal is to just, especially because it's so thick, is to just get as much cane off as possible from the get-go. So I'm just gonna talk through what I'm doing so you can see. I'm just getting the bark off. I've already gotten it out of the tip because that's how I let my blanks dry. Because if you scrape a little bit in the tip after you tie your blank on, it'll really help the reed to close down and form a nice shape. So I definitely recommend doing that. So the bark was already off at the tip, so now I'm just moving into the heart on both sides and just removing the bark. And I'm being a bit ruthless. Like, I'm taking the bark off, the underbark, which is right underneath the cane, or right underneath the bark, and even a little bit of cane underneath that. I'm pretty much leaving the center alone because I want that to be the thickest place, but this cane and the bark right underneath it, or the cane right underneath the bark, is not going to serve you, so you have to remove it. So don't be afraid to just go further than you think you need to. I think a lot of times, especially if you're having issues with hard reeds, it's because you're not taking enough off in the beginning. And notice I haven't gone all the way back yet. I'm still really just getting this bark off. My knife's just sharpened it, so it's a little sharp, so it's catching a little on this cane. There we go. But the goal is to create flexibility even here in the beginning. So I'm starting to get a little bit of flexibility here. Okay, now I'm going to work my way back, continuing to remove the bark. Good. And you'll notice I do take more off of the tip and the heart initially than I do the back of the reed. And that's because the vibrations enter from the top and they go through the reed. So the back, it does give vibrations, but it's mostly, for me, all about structure and support and how the reed's going to hold up. That's what the back really does. And you can create some nice flexibility in the back as well. All right. Just keep scraping here. This cane feels okay. It's a little on the harder side, but that's okay, because sometimes if you have some cane that's a little hard, as long as it still scrapes nicely, it can really produce a nice reed that usually lasts a little longer. Softer cane tends to make a reed quicker, really. It vibrates very readily, but it might not last as long. So these cane fibers are just closer together, which is nice. Okay, so from here, I said I don't do much in the back initially. That doesn't mean I do nothing though. I definitely set the back. So right now I'm going in behind the heart and just kind of saying, okay, this is where the back is. So I'll scrape a little bit beneath that. I'll scrape along the sides of the spine just to create definition. And then the right and left sides above the bark, above the thread. Scraping here where I am right now, above this bark, is really going to give you, what's the word? Nice flexibility. So like the reed will close down nicely. It won't be too open. It'll hold its shape quite nicely. As opposed to if you didn't scrape anything out there, the reed will probably be too open and thus be a little hard. Okay. So again, I'm going to do the same thing here. All right. And that's all I do initially down there. And I'm gonna go back up to the top. This side, you can tell the heart is just a little thick. It's still got a little underbark on it right here. So carefully remove that. And let's test for flexibility again. We're starting to get some, but not enough. So this blank, this piece of cane was just very thick. At least it felt very thick. I did not measure it beforehand. All right. If you get these little catches in here, you can just angle your knife flatter against the reed and then just brush them away. And these nicks really can be caused by just a couple of things, you know, digging into the cane, or a sharp knife that's too sharp, or just a cane that's too dry. And this one was a little dry, so that's why I got mine. Okay, I'm starting to get some flexibility here. I want a little bit more before I clip it open. I want the reed to vibrate when I clip it open. Because if it doesn't vibrate, then it's just, yeah, you don't really want to work on it. So it's always nicer coming back to a reed that actually makes a noise, right? If the reed is too hard, then that is not fun. So, okay, it feels pretty good. I'm gonna clip it open. I'm gonna clip about 1 millimeter off. Again, on this first day scrape, the goal is to just create flexibility, get the reed vibrating, and try to get it down to 71 as much as you can. So from here, I'm going to go back to the top, scrape in the tip, and I'll scrape in the right and left corners. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, I thought I saw a crack. I was like, oh no. That happens sometimes. And then you just move on and you start again. Okay. Soak it a little bit. All right, you can start to see the tip is getting a little thinner. Now this reed's pretty long. I tie my reeds at 74. And I've clipped about 1 millimeter off, so this reed is about 73. So I'm not going to be too careful right now. I'm gonna be calculated with where I scrape in the corners of the tip, but I'm not gonna be worried about going a little further back than I need to, because I'm gonna end up clipping a lot of this off. So I'm just gonna work on the sides, back here, creating nice slope as you go back. Okay. All right, this reed should be like a party favor right now because it's so long. And we just scraped a lot. Let's see, it should be, yeah. It needs a clip. I know this before even crowing it, but I'll crow it for you. Yeah, it definitely needs a clip. So let's go ahead and clip another millimeter. So we're around 72 probably right now. Let's test for flexibility. Let's see here. Okay, you can kind of start to see outside edges should close first. Part of it looks a little flatter on this right side, but that's because we need to balance it out more. You can still see it's pretty wild right now. But before I clip it again, I'm just gonna go ahead and thin the tip. You might say, Kelly, well, why would you thin the tip already if it already sounds like a party favor and it's vibrating too much? Well, that's because we're gonna have to clip this because it's flat, because it's too long. And when we clip it, it's gonna cancel out a lot of those vibrations. So I wanna go ahead and make sure the tip feels nice before I clip it open, since the reed is so long right now. Okay. Notice we haven't defined really where the tip line starts yet. We will do that soon. Okay, let's give it another clip. Not a full millimeter this time, maybe a 1/2 millimeter. Okay. Yeah, this reed needs another clip. We're at 72. Let's go ahead and clip it back again. And crow. Yeah, starting to come up now as we're getting closer to 71. So at this point is where I slow down a little bit and I say, okay, let's evaluate and see what we have going on here. The sides of the tip are starting to get thin, which is good, but now we really need to go in and define where the tip line is and make sure it's balanced. So let's go ahead and do that here. I'm gonna put it about right there. Now I like my tip lines to be, I usually start them around 66, but somewhere between 65 and 66 is where they end up. Okay, I'm not taking a lot out right now of the tip. I'm just defining where that line is. And definitely if you're new to this, I would measure. I always do measure. I know I didn't that time, but I'm pretty good at eyeballing it. And this reed is still a little long, so I'm doing it a little higher on purpose. Yeah, and you can tell it is a little higher than 66, which is what I wanted. Because my goal is right now, since this reed was a little bigger, is to leave it around 71 and then come back to it tomorrow or the next day, and then maybe bring the line back a little bit more. Okay, so just line it up, eyeball it on the next side, and then we'll put our tip line in. So all I do to make my tip line is I score it, and then I let my knife catch and go up and away. So eyeball it, find where it meets. There we go. So we want this to be super symmetrical. So draw your line and then up and away. Up and away. I really do leave this cane that I'm building in the center of front of the tip. I try to leave that alone. So you'll notice I just primarily work on the side, because that's where your tone is. That's where the beauty of the reed comes from. Okay. I can tell this reed, it's a little logy, a little flat. It feels very open in the throat, which is not surprising because this reed I said in the beginning was big. So I'm just going to close this down with my fingers right at the throat. Yeah, press it down maybe 6 or 7 seconds, and that'll really help it to close down and not be too open. So it'll bring the pitch up as well. Okay, yeah, definitely brought the pitch up. I'm actually going to leave this reed here because since this reed has a tendency, it wants to open up, I want it to dry a little longer. The longer you let it dry, the more closed it's going to be. Generally speaking though, I do not let my reeds dry longer than 71, but this one is right at 71, maybe a tiny bit longer. But if I were to clip it right now, since it's already open, it's just gonna be bigger when I come back to it. So I'm trying to get it to close down and make it more manageable. So I think with a few days resting at this length, that'll really help the reed to conform and to close down into something that's manageable. But so this is what we did. This is how I do my first day scrape after a blank. Let's really get those vibrations in, and then you can come back to it and the reed's already vibrating, and then you finish it. Yeah, absolutely. So let me know if you have any questions below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.